be able to share it with anyone who wasn't able to. I've got several folks who wanted to get the recording. So
Yeah, that's great.
yes, so we can share that. I am going to ask that when we start presenting, if you could mute yourself. We're going to, and I'm still waiting. We had 49 people who signed up for this, so we're going to hold out another few minutes and see how many people we get. We have 2 folks here in person. I think most everyone else is going to join via Zoom.
That seems to be the pattern. You can stay in your PJs and
Right?
eat your supper. And,
I like your background.
well, it's new. We've been
That's
at all
cool.
these meetings and we thought, we could advertise, we could
Yeah.
do our thing.
Good.
This actually was designed by people at the Enrichment Center, our clients there.
Oh, that's
And,
awesome.
And each one of those petals up there reflects an important part of their life, their independence, their dignity, stuff like that. And when it came time to receive it, somebody said, well, what did we pay them? And somebody said, well, I don't know that we did. And people went crazy about, what do you mean minimum wage? This is legitimate
Right.
artwork. This is design work. Come on. What's a designer cost these days? And so we were happy to give them a nice stipend.
Awesome. That's really great. It looks good. I need a background.
Well, if Sarah Potter joins us, she'll be the person with 2 chairs on a sandy beach. So that will be her.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting folks in now.
Stephanie, how long have you been at the High Point Arc?
10 years. I'm in my 10th year. I started
Okay.
January 1 of 12.
Does that qualify you for a sabbatical now?
I need a vacation.
Uh-huh.
My partner in crime, Laura, just retired to Hilton Head.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh, here's the door.
That was my partner in crime who just appeared and then went behind the D.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
We're getting a few folks wandering in here too. This is Joe. The Maxwells, Gil and Christina. And hey, come on in. Yeah, come on in. I'm sorry, I wasn't out waiting. So yeah, have a seat.
Actually looking for my ticket on my phone, but
It's okay. Yeah, it's
I've
okay.
got to find out how that ticket works.
It's really just a way, yeah, just a way to RSVP.
Allison, your face is familiar. Where do I know you from?
I'm sorry.
Say, Allison, your face is familiar. Where do I know
Oh,
you
Allison.
I'm with the Arc of Greensboro, but I've been with Project Search for the last 10 years.
from? Okay.
That's how I know. Yeah.
Is Project Search employment?
Right there.
It is. It's at Moses Cone Hospital.
Okay. We have good friends from Cincinnati who for years and years and years with the special programs and hospitalizations they have there, were donating to all the doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs that supported that hospital. And finally they said, it's time for you to repay a favor and let's have you hire our kids. And at first it was a little struggle, but all of a sudden they found it became really, really creative to put those physicians in the same room with our children and adults and find jobs for them, and everything from hygiene for utensils to serving in meaningful roles. And the Cincinnati Children's Hospital has become really a great model.
Yes, it is.
Deborah
That's where
Woolard
it all
just-
started.
Yeah, Deborah Woolard just joined us. I know her well.
I just chose not to change my name.
Oh, you've got the background too.
Yeah.
Like it.
What happened was we have kind of a unique situation, and we have, I think for 40 years, we've had an IDD advisory from Forsyth County to our MCO. We've been through multiple MCOs recently. And so at one point we wanted to have our own logo for our IDD advisory. And we went to the Enrichment Center and had somebody with special needs present their options. And this is the one we chose and paid him for his, our logo.
Yeah,
Looks
I
great.
just- We tried to get too long to wait as a hashtag, but somebody else had claimed it for, some
Yeah.
other urgency that was, I suppose, equally valid. So
We have quite a few more coming in.
good.
You want to give it just another minute or two and how many folks will come in? We also have 4 people in the room here.
It's not on. That little light, I'm not on. It's here, but I'm not on.
I know a Nell from yesteryear in the Child Development Centers. Is that the Nell whose name has appeared there? She's disappeared.
Let me try something else. It's not on. Oh, good.
Oh,
Did I miss something?
The red line do that so that you got the camera cut off.
Why was that? Oh, okay. I think that's me.
All right, I think we'll go on ahead and get ready to go. I'm going to keep admitting folks as they come in. If you don't mind, while we're starting the presentation, just muting yourself, we're going to have plenty of time towards the end for you guys to ask questions. And we hope to be able to answer all your questions. We're also going to touch a little bit tonight just because of the changes with Medicaid transformation going on right now and all those changes. We're going to open it up and let you guys ask questions about the letters you may have received recently and the decisions that DHHS has made just recently. So we'll have plenty of opportunities to do that. after we go through this presentation. I'm going to, let me give it another couple minutes because they're coming in pretty quick.
It started at 7.
We're going to keep it on track, I promise.
Maybe I'm watching this.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to go on ahead and get started. Welcome. This presentation, we're doing a series throughout the year on transitioning to adulthood. And our session in September, we sent a survey out to the folks who attended that one. And this was their #1 response. They wanted, to know about the innovation waiver and how to apply. So if you are interested in getting an updated survey so that you can choose what our next session will be, I'll be happy to send those out, and you can just add your name to the chat if you would like. This session is going to be on innovation waiver and how to apply. I'm going to go to next slide. So just a brief overview of what the innovation waiver is. I think hopefully most of you guys are aware. It is a waiver that allows individuals
Did
with
anybody
intellectual
take my
developmental
corded earbuds, Apple
No.
earbuds
The Apple earbuds?
with the cord
No.
and a plug?
No, ma'am.
Hi, could I ask you guys to mute? Just while
Sorry,
we're-
I thought I was muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. It allows you to get services in the community and help people live as independently as possible. You're able to support where you'd like to, or choose where you live and spend your time during the day and go to school or work or whatever it is that you would like to do. These services unfortunately are, oops, I'm speeding along. These services are limited in that there are a limited number of Medicaid waivers throughout North Carolina. And of course, obviously, if you're on this call, you're probably on the wait list or you're waiting for those services. This is just a list of the different opportunities that you get while you're receiving an innovation waiver. And for those of you who have just joined, I'm going to send this out in this presentation out as soon as we're finished. And as long as you RSVP'd on Eventbrite, I will email it to you. If you didn't, I will add you to that list if you just put your email in the chat box. So tonight, I wanted to introduce you guys to the NC Innovation or Waiver Action Team. Bill Donahue is one of the family members who have started this
What did Leanne just
group
say?
or wave, I guess you would say, across North Carolina. And they have been very productive and have met with legislators and are now have a grant through the DD Council. So Bill, if you wouldn't mind starting. Are you there?
I'd be happy to, Stephanie, thank you on behalf of what we call ourselves, the NC WAT, the Waiver Action Team. There are 3 of us here, and with the screen that's up, it's kind of hard to see that Deborah Woolard and Sarah Potter have joined us. They're also part of our team. And so, yeah, let me begin by just talking a little bit about who we are. I've always felt that any significant changes in the lives of special needs families has begun at some mother's kitchen table, reaching out to another mother saying, what are we going to do? How can we solve this problem? Who can help us? Where do we go? What's wrong? How can we deal with it? So that's not too different from how we started here in Winston-Salem. We started with a lot of people calling us because we have been advocates for many, many years, and they would call and say, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And so we felt that we needed to at least begin locally. So we gathered as many of our advocate agencies as we could find, and they included the Enrichment Center, affiliated chapter of the ARC, the Family Support Network, First in Families, the YMCAs. We had all sorts of folks from group homes and whatnot. And we kind of got them together and said, we need to circle the wagons and deal with this registry of unmet needs because it's getting larger and larger. The back of our t-shirts, I don't know if you can see this or not. My screen share doesn't allow me to do it. It says 14,000 is too many to have waiting. Well, there's now well over 15,000 who are waiting. So we began as actually two families. And the Potters and the Donahue Willards are those two families, and they're with us tonight. And what the first thing we did was to try and listen to the families that we were talking with. And all of them agreed that this was unconscionably long to wait. We had people at that point who had waited 16, 17 years and still hadn't gotten an innovations waiver. That's because we got no waivers at all in our county, and we had 800 people on the waiting list. And about a third of those, almost 40%, were still in public schools. So somebody had failed them, whether it was a half a dozen IEPs where they were talking about anything from transition to needs, or the CDSAs who should have gotten them with early intervention. But for some reason, they were late getting on the list. So we decided we needed a rally. So we gathered all the folks we could together, and we thought about who are the stakeholders. Let's get some of the people who make decisions. And so we had some politicians, we had some city council, we had some county commissioners, but mostly we had parents and families show up and express what their needs were and what was going on. Well, it was such a success, we thought, well, gee whiz, now we've got one vote out of 99. What are we going to do? It takes a lot more than one county to make a difference in the state. And so that's when Sarah Potter, who's hidden among the participants here, started a Facebook, and Deborah, who's also hiding behind a D, I can't see her name, her picture popping up on my screen, formed a website, and we got started with the waiver action team and tried to reach out statewide. Unfortunately, our rally happened on March 7th, right before the pandemic struck. So we were buried with all sorts of resistance. 2 years later, we were approached by the DD Council to express an interest in, because of our statewide activity, and apply for what then was a $600,000 grant over 4 years, and starting with 150 the first year. And there was only 4 of us, counting my daughter who's in Norway, 5. That's not much of an army. But the grant was awarded, and lo and behold, underneath the grant emerged Disability Rights North Carolina, the Autism Society of North Carolina, the ARC of North Carolina, Family Support Network, First in Families, a whole bunch of the statewide advocates whom we had been partnered with off and on over the years. We were all under the same umbrella for the very first time. So that's kind of the context of how we started, and at some level how we're ending, because the grant has ended and it's just beginning the second year, and our relationship with the grant is still to be determined. But our goals remain the same, and that is to reduce the number of people on the wait list. And our sense of urgency is palpable. And we recently had a woman in our organization who has been part of our Y and our book club, and a dear friend who died after waiting 22 years. And it's totally unconscionable. We had another woman after 21 years who got an award this year from Partners. So after but 5.5 years of no awards at all, not a single waiver. We got 34 this year. Don't tell me why. So that's who we are. And again, I want to thank Stephanie for inviting us to be here. And typically on gatherings like this, we have just a huge range of people who've been in the field and been challenging the barriers for years, and those who are either new to North Carolina or new to child rearing with the special needs, or just now beginning to understand what a waiver might do for them. So Stephanie, I'm going to throw it back to you to see if you think there are some overarching questions about the waiver. What's on the screen in front of you is a roadmap that Partners has put together, and you can also find it on our website. And you can see there under the North Carolina Waiver Action Team, our website address and the Facebook address, where you can also pick up this roadmap for the registry. And maybe one of the most important things is down the line a ways, after you call their hotline number, it's be prepared to wait for quite a while, because not wait in terms of the waiver, you'll have to do that, but wait in terms of the amount of time it takes to get registered, because there's quite an access process. And that roadmap takes you through what you will need to do to eventually secure a date for having been registered and approved for the waiver. And that date is absolutely essential. That is your key to how long you'll have to wait. It's first come, first serve, and the sooner you get through that maze and get on the list, the sooner you stand a chance of getting an award. So do you want to throw out a couple softballs for me to beat down, or throw on to Sarah if they're policy want questions?
Sure. I'm going to go to this slide as well.
Okay.
The Meet the Need North Carolina. Would you mind explaining a little bit about that as well?
That was the first year's product of our grant. This is what's called a collective impact infographic, and it essentially summarizes where we are now and what our vision is for the future and how we will get there. And this is like I say, it's a collective impact, which for some of us meant death by committee, because it takes a long time to get everybody on the same page, working through the wording and stuff like that. Even the logos, sometimes take months to agree to. And if any of you have changed your logo, sometimes it can be a fight. But this is where we are. And the registry began, or the grant began primarily focused on the registry of unmet needs. But over the course of the last 2 years, while the grant was being imagined, we all know what's happened to our providers, to the lack of services that are available, and the poor salaries which contribute to that. So Meet the Need NC became a much larger umbrella than it began. And every one of those points about where we are and what our visions are absolutely essential. There's a context to services and there's a context to solutions. And I guess I would leave it at that. And for most people, the solutions are at a political level, and those of us in the nonprofit domain have to be careful about politicizing, but the decisions are made on a funding level. The Innovations Waiver is funded 2/3 by the federal government and 1/3 by the state of North Carolina. And without the state of North Carolina ponying up their third, there will not be a new Innovations Waiver slot. Last year, we got 1,000 new slots, and that was the first time in quite a while we'd gotten a big chunk like that. And they were dispersed across the 99 counties. Actually, they were dispersed to the MCOs, which then dispersed them to the counties. And once you get on the registry, your date and your name will be managed by your county, and your services will be managed by your county. And
also, can you explain the allocation system? The larger counties are over allocated, And so counties like Guilford and Forsyth have not gotten waivers in many years, because when a waiver did come out, it would go, to the smaller counties who didn't have by population the number of innovation waivers. So that has been, I think, why, some people are sitting on the list 15, 16 or more years.
I think some of that has,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
This is Joanna. I am a community navigator who's also been an innovations case manager for many, many years. A lot of people on here may know me already. But the 1,000 slots is more than we ever had. And that the distribution of those slots, I've actually suggested before, and and I still would probably advocate some other levels, and maybe that needs to be something that's really kind of addressed, because the wait list is so long that as serving as a case manager for so many years, I've known a lot of kids that's on the waiting list, but what we're not getting is kids. So they're on there so long, by the time they get off, they're adults. And most of the kids that I've had, even, Stephanie knows me, I had her son since he was a little kid. So, but we're not getting any kids. So I've made some suggestions, even in stakeholders and stuff, that we have a kids waiting list and an adult waiting list, because kids are not getting off, and the more vital time is early intervention. So I think that is something that really needs to be kind of pushed in an advocacy way.
That's the first I've heard that suggestion, and you're absolutely right that the time blazes past those developmental years in school. I'm sure the counter would be, but at least in the school system, they have the federal IEP system working to support them with teachers every day, and after they graduate, they don't have that support system. So it's an unending argument, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'm all for unended argument. I'm all for unended argument.
But to answer your question a little bit, Stephanie, I think that one of the problems is that our urban areas tend to be magnets. It's where the service agencies are, it's where the providers are. And so the illusion that they're getting overserved, I think, is a false formula that and I'll toot John Nash's horn from the ARC here, who's the CEO, who really believes that the underserved counties are the most viable way to create change, because when you put 5 or 6 new slots in a county with maybe 8 or 10 or 15 providers and services and maybe $500,000 in support, you're changing that county. Whereas you get 5 new slots in Winston-Salem, and who knows? But John is a big believer in doing an economic impact of the registry, not just a sequential impact. It used to be, and in many states, it is not first come, first serve. It's highest need, and then first come, first serve. So the state made a decision, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, maybe more, to switch to a first come, first serve. And I'd be surprised if that changes.
Probably not at this date. So as we promised, on the PowerPoint, we have created how to start the process with each of the LME MCOs that are in this general triad area. We've created one for Sandhill Center. And again, I'm going to email this out to all of you guys right after. And in this case, if you are in the Sandhills area, they actually do have a page on their website called the Registry of Unmet Needs. And you would call this 1-800 number that's listed. Like Bill said, there's a process to go through. That roadmap is great, because one of the things that they're going to require is an updated psychological, a full psychological, including And I talked to a care coordinator today, not just an IQ, but an adapted score as well. So you need to have both on your psychological.
Can you say that one?
Yes, you'll need an IQ. So that would, include the psychological testing for intellectual. You need to have an IQ score, and then you need to have an adapted behavior score. Just so that you guys are aware, it's not easy to find
And the fun fact is you can't find anybody to do them.
yes.
So
So
it's
it's
psychology.
yes, you have to have a psychologist do this. So
I do know that you can come off the waiting list without that, but before they can complete your whole, so if your name came up and you were on the waiting list and your name came up, they do give you time to kind of get that piece. But if you already have that piece, like Stephanie said, that activates your slot fast.
right.
I used to open these slots. So yeah, it would activate a little bit faster.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, yes.
I am so ignorant about all these steps. My daughter is autistic, and she was diagnosed privately. She's never been diagnosed by the Guilford County School. She's going through that process right now. She's in the 10th grade at Lionheart Academy. With that, they're doing this adaptive behavior score and all that. Could we use that report from the Guilford County Schools?
Yeah. Actually, they're not accepting, and Shawana, correct me, but they're not accepting school evaluations anymore. It has to be a clinical evaluation.
Okay.
Is that correct, Shawana?
Well, yes. They have said either way. I have used both. When we couldn't get something of a sort, as long as it was really, really updated. So it's brand new. So if we, like, suppose she got a slot tomorrow, I think they would kind of take it to get her through the process, but I would still look at other options because you have time if you're not even on the list yet.
I would almost say turnabout is fair play, because for many years the school system wouldn't accept private
right
evaluations. They had to do their own.
Wouldn't even do either. Yeah,
it was their way of keeping down the number of kids with an autism diagnosis. But in either way, it's the families and the child that lose, and we got to stop that.
Right.
How do you know if you're on a list? I submitted something last year, but to North Carolina.
Call your MCO, and you should call your MCO every other year just to make sure they haven't lost you in the work. But they will tell you the exact date that they have you registered.
So let me dumb down that a little bit. MCO meaning your managed care. Yeah, it means your managed your area's managed care. So are you where are you located?
In Greensboro.
Well, yours is Sandhill Center, and so you will call Sandhill Center. You will ask for Betty McCormick, and she will get you on the list, registry of unmet needs.
I did that last year, so I just need to call Betty.
Yep, you need to call Betty.
Okay,
Just
thank you.
know Betty only works Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 12.
12, absolutely. I was just about to say that, Stephanie.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
We had a question on the chat about what is a managed care organization, an MCO. It used to be called the CAP services, but it's changed, I don't know, about 8 or 10 years ago. And the managed care organization is the I'll say it's the insurance company that manages the Medicaid dollars.
Absolutely. It's your local for your area sector. The Sandhill Centers makes up several different areas, and Guilford County happens to be part of that one. We go all the way down to Fayetteville, West End, and all those areas. So that's our managed care area. We also have Alliance and Trillium, and all of those are managed care areas if you've seen those. So it's basically your insurance company for this area.
And Sarah put a link to the maps of all the MCOs in North Carolina, so you can see what county you're in, and then you would know what your MCO is.
And all MCOs don't function the same.
Right. So if you're in Guilford, Davidson, Randolph, Rockingham, you would be in Sand Hills. If you're in Forsyth, you're in Partners.
Yeah. And I
then
think somebody just put
Via
in
is
Burlington. I think Burlington is Alliance. Burlington is Alliance.
Oh, I thought they were Via.
They might be Via now because some people merged. Yeah, it might be Via now.
Our
Yeah.
website classifies which MCO you have by county if you go to our website.
Okay, great.
Lisa just asked a question about if they have your name, if you're on the list, does that mean that they have your psychological? That's a reason to call, and it's no guarantee. Just make sure
Right.
they've got everything.
Right.
What you can apply, I believe at some point a couple years ago, they did want a psychological as you apply to be on the list. Before then, so like maybe 5 years ago, you could apply and not have that psychological. I think Sand Hills requires you to have that to be on the list.
And Sand Hills may have gotten a little teeny bit smarter than most because again, I used to open these people, and opening these people, we would have everything we need for them to actually open and would not have a psychological, and the parents would spend so much time, and we had a certain amount of period of time to have these slots open for them for the state level. And if you didn't have that information together, then it was like it was an ongoing cycle. You actually lost that slot. So they give you a certain amount of time to get that slot up and running. So sometimes the psychological held that up. So they may be asking you to give it now so they won't have to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Her psychological was done when she was 4. Is that applicable? Does it need to be more recent?
Yeah, more recent.
I think the public schools will require you to do it more often.
Right, but I'm saying for Sand Hills.
Yep, it'll need to be updated a little bit.
Okay.
Sometimes, the school system used to do a thing for us. I mean, like I said, it used to be they kind of caught on to us a little bit, so we didn't have to make people go through the psychological, because that process was so hard. So I would do a thing where if they had some type of psychological, I would ask for a reeval at the school system. It was just my ploy to get my stuff done and get the family's needs met. But I would ask for the parents to do a reeval, do an update, and do an addendum. And then that would update the psychological. But then the school system kind of caught us, even though they were billing Medicaid dollars too. So, and then they stopped doing them. So every now and again, I could get somebody at the school system to update one based on them transitioning out or transitioning to another thing. And then I could get one, but they wouldn't do it for CAP purposes.
Right. I just thought I understood that for the CAPS program or Innovations Waiver, that they wouldn't use the school psychological evaluation. It had to be private.
I think that is correct.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only as of the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a DHHS requirement now. It's got to be clinical.
Okay,
But
thank
That's
you.
also something we need to not, we possibly, that has always been a problem. And I think that we do need those psychologicals, but we don't have anybody to do them. We don't have anything. So I think the advocate for some other, not have a psychological, but another method of getting psychologicals and what they accept should be a thing, because that's always been a thing to slow people up. And I mean, people's lost slots, and we don't have the manpower or like everything else to be doing that.
One of the things that the Meet the Needs NC group has spent a lot of time with is that the MCOs are pretty independent. They're supposed to be supervised by DHHS, but they do operate differently, and so there is a lot of confusion, and it's understandable. But I would go back, and it used to be by statute they were called LME/MCOs, and the LME stood for Local Management Entity, and that's an old phrase that used to imply advocacy. And the reason I use the word insurance company in the beginning is that the MCOs are not designed to be advocates. They're designed to provide services under the guidance of the state of North Carolina. And so your advocates are your ARC of North Carolina. Your advocates are all the agencies who I referenced earlier. And we'd like to think that the Waiver Action Team is a huge advocate for you. But I just wanted to, like I mentioned from the beginning, in groups like this, we always have people who are not familiar with the MCOs or IEPs or psychologicals. And we haven't even gotten yet into the transition program, which has been delayed again and will be extended till the 1st of April. But we can move on to that.
I would highly recommend, and I recommend this to every family who calls me. I give them this information that we're giving you here, who the phone numbers to call and how to go through the process. But I also tell them to go sign up for Bill's Facebook page and their website and their mailing list. I think it's super important right now with all the changes going on, that you get on the waiting list and then follow a group like this or the ARC so that you know what's going on in across North Carolina. I've listed here's partners. So if you're in Forsyth County, I don't know all the partners counties, actually. I just know the ones that are right here in the area. But if you're in Forsyth County, this is the list, and they actually even have an email address that you can email someone to start the process. Again, I'm going to share all of this with you guys afterwards, so you don't have to write quickly. And then I included VIA. I believe when I looked, and VIA was in Alamance, so that was the other one kind of touching or part of the triad. So I can get you because we actually have a lot of folks who come to Guilford County, but their home county may be another county if they're in a group home or something like that. So it might be that they're in another LME MCO. We'll be happy to get you that information as well. And I believe on your website, Bill, you can link to any of the LME MCOs, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I kind of gave a backhand to the MCOs, but you need to know that they are what you need to work with. They have consumer and family advisory committees. They have opportunities for parents and families and advocates and providers to meet and to work on problems and to make recommendations. So for those of you who are struggling with natural supports, and we all do, this is a step up from your neighbors and your families. This is the bureaucracies and the systems that will help define the services and provide them. And they do have available monies to support advocacy programs, but you need to be there on the ground, boots stomping, to get them to work with you. And like Debbie had said earlier, we've worked with 3 MCOs, and we've had varying experiences with all 3. We started out with Centerpoint, and look what we created Beyond Academics at UNCG, and then we ran into Cardinal. Oops. And now we have a wonderful relationship with partners, and we have not only a CFAC for the MCO that we can participate in, we have a special IDD relationship with their leadership. So they advise us and we advise them, and it works well.
Absolutely.
And I would say,
I served on Sandhill CFAC for 9 years, and they are always looking for CFAC members. It's not always easy to recruit. So if any of you are interested, when I stepped off, I actually recruited someone who's on the wait list to be on CFAC because I felt that voice was important.
And they also looking for stakeholders too. We got emails that me and Stephanie both sits on the stakeholders for Sandhill. So they're looking for, companies and business and, that's in the field to be able to stakeholder. So, just, get involved, and you can definitely make some changes.
Yeah, there's 2 things I'll bring up, and one of them is, I think Forsyth County is unique in that for 40 years, they've had an advisory to the MCO. So I know there's CFAC, which kind of functions differently than we do, but I think we're the only ones who have an advisory to our MCO. We also have a very strong relationship with our county commissioners. And so I think those have both been very helpful for us to have that relationship. And would encourage you to try to develop some of those within your area.
One of the things on our list to talk about tonight is what kind of services are available. And
Yep.
there aren't as many as we need and would like, but Debbie's starting to make references to the natural supports that come from other sources than the MCO. And our county commissioners have given us roughly $15,000 a year to give to other nonprofits and families and groups and programs in our county. And so there are ways that you can expand your natural supports by working as a collective like we do, and it's paid pretty good dividends. What's Sarah writing? Even if you're on the wait list, care management will be available for those who have Medicaid.
Yes.
Sarah, you want to chirp on that, Sarah?
I'll chirp. I just want people to know that if you have Medicaid and you're possibly eligible for a tailored plan, then care management should be able to help you navigate the system. There's so many changes occurring now that it's very confusing, even to those of us who've been doing this forever. And changes are happening now as we speak, and you like what's going to be available under the new 1915I state plan option, which used to be B3, and who's going to be eligible for that. And so the first place you need to go would be to your MCO and find out, because you're going to be able to choose your care manager. There'll be different kind of care management agencies, or you can choose the care management with your MCO. It's up to you. You choose your primary care physician. And so if you're eligible for a tailored plan, or your child is eligible for a tailored plan, then you certainly should take advantage of the care management that's coming on December 1st. Because that might give you access while you sit on the wait list.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this next slide, it actually covers exactly that B3 services are going away as of December 1st. That was announced yesterday.
It was kind of already out, but it wasn't our way completely out. Yeah.
And then the 1915I will take the place of B3 funding. And the three services that they will that you can get are supported employment, community living and supports. I put the wrong thing in. Sorry, guys. It's community living and supports and respite. I'll go back and change that before I send the thing out. I caught myself. So community living and supports is really just like what a innovation waiver holder has. It's the support person that goes out into the community with the person served.
Stephanie and Sarah, do you understand that the community living and supports will be expanded once 15I takes over?
Yes. I've heard as much as up to 20 to 25 hours a week. I'm not sure how that's going to be determined. And I asked the question today of Melinda, who's going to be providing those services? Because will it be only the B3 providers currently? Because that's a large group of folks who is going to be eligible on the wait list.
So my understanding of that one, Stephanie, is this is Joanna, but my understanding of that one is when the B3 pilot program, because I was I was at the ARC at that point in time, it was a pilot program. So it was trying to tap in the same way we're doing now, is trying to expand to give people some opportunities. So the 1519 it will give you that service, but there I don't know if they're gonna open it up to an open network, because what it is closed for the pilot programs that was actually doing it. But my understanding is it's running in just like Innovation Waiver. So the provide, it'll open you up to more providers, because it was only a few providers that B3 people had access to, because them the only ones that got into the pilot.
Well, I'm just wondering, we're already struggling to hire people. And if we're going to be adding all these services, how will
My understanding is it'll be the same as the Innovations Waiver. So basically the people that were on B3 will get a regular, it's kind of like a Innovations Waiver. So they're not locked into that pilot program anymore. So that means that anybody that was in B3 can actually access all the other provider agencies that the innovations people could access. So that wouldn't limit them to just those B3 pilot programs.
I think that's probably because they become a Medicaid entitlement rather than a state funded service.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not a state funded service anymore. So that pilot actually goes away. So most people will get a slot. Basically they're getting a slot, but they're just gonna have limited services in that slot.
But you have to be on the waiting list, correct, to qualify for the 1959?
Yes.
The 1950I actually turns into, the B3 actually turns into the 1915I. So the B3 was not a waiver, it was a waiver program. Again, it was a pilot program. So it was the way for us to get people off the waiting list at one point in time. And it kind of mirrored the Innovations Waiver. But when it mirrored the Innovation Waiver, it just didn't have all of the services, and it didn't have all of the agencies. So the agencies bidded on it, because I was in those bids. So you remember when I was telling you I couldn't do community navigating for these things because we were not in the B3, we bidded on that. And so whomever they bidded on got those slots, those were the only agencies. When they open this up, they'll have all the agencies will have they could be able to access more agencies. So it'll be just like the Innovation Waiver. It'll just say it's to be the 1915I, because those are the people we'll know that came off of B3.
But if you're not on the waiting list, you cannot get the 1959. So that's
No,
I
you
don't
have
think
to get on
that's
the
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to get on
I don't think you have to be on the Registry of Unmet Needs to
You don't?
access I benefits.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you don't.
So just if you qualify for a tailored plan, you can
apply.
Yes.
apply. Okay.
Yes.
You can apply. It doesn't mean everybody's going to get accepted. That would mean it would be so many people. Like I would think that it would have to be somewhat the waiting list people that have already been in, because that wouldn't give these people that's been waiting a long time the access to it. So I'm not sure actually how they're going to access that. But if you're qualified for the tailored plan, you still will have to get on some type of list to get there.
There are going to be eligibility requirements. It's going to differ from the Innovations Waiver, but the difference with I, and the reason why there are a lot of families that are excited about it and have been working for some kind of support, what we call a support waiver for so long.
Right.
There have been advocates going after this for a long time, is because it's an entitlement and there's no cap. With B3 services, there was a limit to the funding that was available. So when the funding ran out, you could no longer get those B3 services. That is not the case with the I state plan amendment, or what they call the I option, because it's an entitlement.
Right.
So it's hopefully going to reach more families, and they're hoping that some families will be able to get what they need, get the supports and services that they need, so that they can actually come off the wait list. It's a way of reducing the number that are on the wait list, because not everyone needs a slot that's worth an annual budget of $135,000 a year. The average is more like $70,000 a year. So hopefully this will reach a lot of families. that can get what they need with the services being offered under the I option. I hope that maybe just confused things even
No,
more.
it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me, but that's what the pilot was too. It started out as a $20,000 cap out, and people could only have this amount, and they did increase those to a certain amount of thing. They tried to do exactly what you just said, that, give people the amount that fit their assessment level, and it didn't pan out the same way. Well, just like you said, the entitlement part of this one is we'll give that. They will assess people, get them average amount, and try to give more people that option.
So you guys are saying that for the 1915 I waiver, you don't need to be on the NC waiver waiting list, correct?
I'm
I'm
saying
sorry,
that
I
'cause
was
I'm
trying to
not
find
saying that
you
because
all.
I'm not sure about that one, because I don't know. I wouldn't think it was fair for people that has been on a list to get jumped by people that haven't been on a list. So if they go been somewhere. So I'm not sure if that's the process or the eligibility criteria for it, but I think it wouldn't seem right not to be able to say, here, we have these waiver slots and we can get you off this way, than you coming in brand new and applying for something.
Vivian, I
Yeah.
would highly recommend you get on the waiting list.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was on it already, but we haven't received that letter, so I guess it's not.
But
You have
what
not
I
Well,
will
then I
tell
would
you-
call
what I
right
will tell you
away
is
and-
I will ask that question, because I'm one of them people that will ask that question, because I think that's a easy, quick answer. So I will ask that question and send an email to Stephanie so she can send it out. But I will ask that question, because that is, and I think I know where to ask that question at. But that
So-
would be, yeah, I will get an answer to that one.
Vivian, did you just say you have not received the tailored plan letter yet?
Yes, that's what my mom is here in this meeting. That's
Yes.
what she said.
So I can get you the phone number that you need to call in
Okay.
order to make sure you get that letter.
Okay.
And that was the one thing we also wanted, just to encourage you. And you can raise your hand on Facebook or on Zoom, but how many of you have received those letters? You can put it in chat, or have not received those letters. Yeah. So we actually, and Shawana can talk about this, had a deadline of October 14th to go in and sign up for the tailored plan. But they just yesterday, or this week, extended that deadline to April 1st instead of December 1st. So we're going to get another round of letters coming out in.
Well, we got the, okay, let me tell you what's extended, because I did that session yesterday on the I did that session yesterday for question and answers for families, and I found out today that they did have some type of directive on that October 15th date. The October 15th date, we still gotta, they're gonna push the fact that people still have to get into a system by then. We do not have to pick our PCPs by then, but we definitely gotta pick whether or not you want targeted care management or care coordination. So those things got to be answered by October the 15th. The reason why is because they did extend that December the 1st targeted care management to go live. So what I'm figuring for as bureaucracy part of this is, and I'm, again, me, I come up with my Tawana philosophies based on what my experiences is. I know that I think they extended that based on the fact that there are a lot of agencies that's already signed up to do targeted care management. They have worked their tails off to get this thing up and running for us to be ready for this tailored plan. And these people complain. I'm sure John said something, I'm sure a couple of people said something about getting this up and running, and where they are hiring people to be ready for this to go live. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead, get this up and running, so you can start picking your tailored care managers, your targeted care managers in December. So they need to know if you're picking that or if you're going to stay with care coordination, because Sand Hills is the only agency doing care coordination right now. But everybody else, like the ARC of North Carolina and Monarch, are doing targeted care management. So if you pick a targeted care manager and you're not on the innovations waiver, you can go ahead and get these guys. So that's why it's going live. So you need to be able to pick.
I just interject some practical advice here, and that is, remember when your kids were just having their first IEPs in school systems, and you had a paper trail that you didn't know where it was going, and then finally, by the time they graduated high school, you had this huge stack. This is the time for you to start also keeping a stack of managed care correspondence.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It will change, and you will need to know the names and numbers of those signatures that appear on those letters. And just as you call every year to find out, are you still on the list? And then you'll ask, well, where am I on it? And they'll say, well, we can't tell you that. We can get into that a little bit, but the important thing is for you to keep your paper trail. You never know when you might need to litigate. You never know when you're going to need to provide a form that you'd done 10 years earlier to prove something. So get out your file cabinet.
Somebody put in the chat, what's the difference between care coordination and targeted care management? Care coordination is what we have now. Targeted care management is a little more holistic, and it has a little more behavior and medical base to it, where you're not going over to the doctor's office and they running a panel for these services and then go over here and run a panel for these services and everybody not communicating that. With the targeted care management, the systems will be able to connect those things. So it just adds a little more in-depth, holistic part to everything. And as case managers, the old case managers, we used to do all of that. So it's a little different now. Your care coordinator now just does a plan, and she doesn't advocate. They don't anything. They don't do any of that. They just do what they do. I mean, which is kind of limited, but it does give you some support.
Does anybody have questions? So Stephanie,
Yes, Angie.
Okay. So I think I'm I'm so embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I don't really know a lot about what's going on. So what it sounds like is I need to stay connected to the ARC of High Point to get a lot of information, because it sounds like you guys are really on top of everything. And you really shouldn't depend on someone like your pediatrician to direct you where to go or what to do. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, you guys are using a lot of acronyms and stuff, and I think like you, I'm feeling a little behind.
Absolutely, and you know, I think that's a thing that we talked about earlier. And I did some question and answers things, and I don't use a lot of those either because I know that we know what they mean, but families don't know what they mean. So I seen what Lisa said; she was kind of confused. Can you, can you tell me what you confused on, so I can kind of we can kind of clear some of those things up?
Okay. All right. I have a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old who's going to graduate from high school this year. Okay. And she needs workplace support, et cetera. So I need to know what I need like a checklist. What do I need to do? I obviously need to call Betty McCormick.
Right.
And get on a list.
Right.
So
Stephanie is a good link.
I've created, with the help of some families in here, it's a football playbook of what to do as you're exiting the school system, and I'll be happy to share that with you.
That would be wonderful.
Do a couple things. Me and Stephanie actually collaborate with a couple other people, and we do a turning 18 kind of.
Yeah.
We do that a couple of times a year. We do it with Gifford County Schools, and we do it a couple of times a year. We just did it with some other things. And I don't know, but Stephanie can tell you whether or not it is. I don't know what happened with that one, but we did have one on the Access channel, for the Education Access channel, where you could kind of, it was kind of pre-recorded, and it goes through the steps of turning 18.
Hey, is Jackie on here? She was earlier.
And I would say, when you have questions, since you said you're kind of new to this and you're feeling like a little overwhelmed, that Sarah Potter does our Facebook. And I think a lot of people come on there and ask questions about things that they're wondering about what they should do, or what does this mean? And you won't be embarrassed to be asking those questions, because other people do too. So don't hesitate to go on our Facebook and ask those questions, and I'm sure somebody will help you with the answers.
And I think on the Meet the Need NC, on the back page of that infographic is a kind of a compendium of descriptions of what some of the MCOs mean, and what some of the words on the front page of it mean, like tailored plans. So yeah, there are lots of websites and you can get lost and buried in them, but your MCOs will probably keep you up to date if the ARC doesn't. But my guess is the ARC is about 2 steps ahead of your MCO.
Absolutely. Lots of places are 2 steps ahead of your MCO. But also, I do a guardianship training. And so I heard a couple people say 17, 18. I do a lot of stuff with guardianship training and rights, and what's your steps to go into guardianship and paperwork and all that good stuff. I will be more than happy. Stephanie can share my information to walk some people through that step by step if they need that.
And alternatives to guardianship as well.
Alternatives. I love alternatives too. Yeah.
The first session that you said you had, Stephanie, earlier, I missed that one. I guess I just missed the email. Was that recorded? So, and where could we access that?
I did record it. What's your name?
This is Ann Lofton.
Ann, okay.
Yes.
Ann, I can email you the link to that.
Okay.
We'll have this one recorded to the cloud too, so I can email the link to this out if anyone, was not able to make it. And if you guys are interested, I can send out a survey. We have 12 topics, and what I would like to do is have you guys let me know which topic you would like to hear next. So if you're interested in that, I'll be happy to send that survey out to everyone on the chat if you'll just include your email address.
Lisa, I don't think you have to do anything to roll from the B3. I think those people automatically get transferred over, according to what I've heard, stakeholder wise, that it actually goes over on its own. If you had a B3 slot, you just automatically go over. If you need me to check that, I'll put that on my list of things to do.
Yeah. I'd make a comment to the Lisas out there. Just remember when your child was small and you found somebody who got it, somebody in your family or your neighborhood or in your public schools, and they became a friend of yours, and you relied on them to know what was going to happen next and what was going to happen when they moved to middle school. You're going to need those supports all of your life. And every chance you get, whether it's going to a CFAC meeting just to meet fellow parents, or going to a regional ARC meeting, or you're welcome to come to our IDD meetings with partners just to meet kindred spirits whom you can consider a natural support and help you not be confused, because you need to be as strong as you can be. And I'm not speaking to Lisa personally, I'm speaking to all the people who from time to time, and all of us get confused, and we just really need to circle our wagons and make sure we're talking to each other. And that really was the genesis of the waiver action team. We just were getting so many calls from people who just thought because we were active, we could change their position on the wait list. How do we move up? Who do we talk to? How can we bump this system? Well, it doesn't work that way. It may have years ago, but it doesn't now.
It did work a little bit like that years ago. You kind of had some notes.
Well,
it wasn't what you know, it's who you know, but yeah.
And I would highly recommend, like I said, to get on the mailing list, on Bill's mailing list, because there might come a time where he may need our voices, at the legislature, locally, who knows, but it is important to be a part of groups like Bill's. But
My vision, I'm sorry, go ahead.
is that one of the things that the NC Waiver Action Team is doing, and also the Hear, Share, Act group is doing, is we're trying to gather one-page stories. So we would like a picture of the person that we're talking about and something about them. And we have samples on our website. And we really need to collect a lot of family stories, because when the legislators, they have so many things going on, and they really don't, unless they have a personal relationship with one of our families, they don't understand and they don't get it. So that's what we're hoping that these stories will do. So anybody who's willing to share a one-page story with a picture of the person that you're talking about, I think those can be very impactful on the legislators. And so we would appreciate you putting those on our web, sending those to us for our website. The Hear, Share, Act group is also doing a pretty compiled questionnaire of all the legislators to find out how much of them really know anything about our families. And so those results will be very interesting, and we'll post those when they become available. But I think it's very interesting. And as Bill started, when he first started talking, if you can, try to make an appointment and talk to those people who are representing you in your county. I mean, even when we know somebody's running for office, we say we want to take you to coffee. And we've had people say, you're the first people, when we said we were going to run, that called us and said, we need to talk to you. So those are the people who have the power to create more waivers. So we have to influence them with our letters, with our personal meetings with them. And I would encourage you to do that.
I have a dream that 3 years from now, there'll be 99 buses headed for Raleigh, and each one of those buses will contain a bushel of stories and a carload of families to visit the legislature and talk about not 500 or 1,000 slots, but 5,000 slots a year for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We need.
That sounds really fun.
Our legislature pays.
I might be on bus number 55.
Okay.
Our legislators pay a third and the federal government pays 2/3. So we've got it, and they've said that they would pay their 2/3. We've got to get our group to pay a third.
I am from out of state. So the neuropsych eval that I have for my daughter, which is within the last year, is from West Virginia. So would we need to get a new neuropsych eval?
No.
Okay.
From the clinical aspect, no, not at all. It just needs to be up to date within sometimes it used to be where we used to have to do it 3 to 5 years. That means 5 was out. People just don't do those every year. So 3 to 5 years is good time. And it doesn't matter where it came from, as long as it's the clinicians.
All right, we're getting a little bit over 8 o'clock. Do you guys have any other questions? And, if we, please continue, if you have any questions, please send them to me and I can get you to Bill, or when you get the PowerPoint, you'll see his email address on there and phone number.
What about, did anybody say they got a letter from Taylor Plan? Did anybody get anybody on here already have a waiver slot or tailored plan, or gonna get?
Our son has had a waiver for 5 years now. He's under supported living, which is part of the Innovations Waiver.
Yes.
And he's living with his provider. They're sharing rent in a property.
Yay, fun, good. So you have already made your choices with the letters and the information that you need to do with your letter?
I'm not sure, Shawana, what letters you're talking about.
The tailored plan letter.
Well, I think we just automatically roll over because we're on the list.
No, you don't.
You have to go online and apply.
You have to do a thing. You have to do a thing with your tailored plan. If anybody has gotten a letter to be initiated into the tailored plan, there are things that you need to do to get from where you are now into the tailored plan. So those steps to get into the tailored plan need to happen by October the 15th if you got your letter. just because the tailored plan got pushed out to April 1st does not mean that the enrollment stops. I thought the enrollment would get pushed back, but I heard today the enrollment is not getting pushed back. So by October the 15th, you need to have enrolled your kid into the tailored plan process. You need to be able to pick your MCO, you need to be able to pick your tailored plan, and you need to be able to pick whether or not you're going to remain with care coordination or targeted care management. You do not have to pick your PCP by the 15th. I did find that out today. So, but I did also, some people's PCP was in there, so we went on and picked them. I've played with that website again, Stephanie. It's awful. It's broken. It does not need to be given to any family member because it is a mess. So
one of the issues was, well, the main issue is that most of the primary care physicians have not signed tailored plan contracts.
Absolutely.
So when you go in to sign up for it, you can do it online. You can call the brokers, or you can call your LMCO or your care coordinator to do it.
So
we got in trouble for that. We got in trouble for that yesterday, but you can call your care coordinator.
You can call your care coordinator. Your care coordinator should be able to sign you up. I had a whole thing with a care coordinator last night actually. And today he informed me that he was signing my client up. And he attempted to sign my client up into the system, and the system kicked him out because their Medicaid was expired. But it is so many flaws in the system. But if you can, Bill, if you need help with that, just let me know. But your child does need to do something by the 15th of October. And I don't know if you got your letter or not, but you do need to do something.
So what if you're not on the list yet?
The tailored plan list?
The wait list at all, the waiver wait list?
Does your daughter receive Medicaid here in North Carolina yet?
Not yet.
You need to apply for Medicaid.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is that I don't have a permanent residence, therefore I don't have an ID yet, and neither does she.
I can work with you once you guys are settled.
Yeah.
Welcome to North Carolina.
Welcome to North Carolina. I can say the nice thing about North Carolina is we have grown. I've done this for 30 years or so. I have been through, I don't know how many waivers. I mean, every time that waiver, I've been with Stephanie for how many years, Stephanie? I've worked with, been everything there. Yes, to her kid for many, many years, and worked with lots of families. North Carolina is believe it or not, we're one of the better states when it comes down to taking care of the disability population, the special needs population. We have people that's flocking into here. I don't know where all these people came from, but they've been coming from other states. We don't have a waiver. We have very limited states that have a waiver that matches ours. We are a great advocate state, and we advocate the crap out of this state. We scream and holler and kick so they don't get rid of services for our special needs individuals. So welcome to North Carolina, where we make some magic happen.
Well, thank you.
All right, we're at 8:12 right now. I don't want to hold everyone up. Please, if you want more information, I am going to send this out PowerPoint in an email, so you'll have everything. But call us, let us know if you have any questions. Make sure you get on Bill and Deborah's email chain and their Facebook page so you can follow everything they're doing.
And Sarah Potter also indicated in the chat the website for Meet the Need NC.
I will copy everything in the chat and put it in the email that we send out with the PowerPoint. But y'all are welcome to copy it while we're on right now.
Thanks for your leadership, Stephanie.
No, well,
Bill,
thank
don't forget to
y'all
call
for
me. Don't forget to email me so I can make sure you get into that. You don't get kicked out of this waiver already. Oh yeah, Bill, by the way, you make sure you pick tailored plan, because if you don't pick tailored plan, you get kicked out of the waiver. That is the most important part about making a decision.
I think your wife and our care manager worked on that, Bill.
Oh. bless my care manager and especially my wife.
Yeah. So, hey, look, we want to make sure that you in there. So if anything is wrong in there, I need to make sure you in, because I don't want you to lose us. They haven't told people you lose your slots by picking plans. So that is one of my goals, to make sure people don't lose their slot by not picking the right plan.
Yeah, well, thank you for that.
Well, thank you guys so much for tonight. And I'll send out a survey after this, but we appreciate everything tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie, as usual.
I like
Have a great
Sarah's
evening.
new fall screensaver.
She left the beach and went to the mountains.
I did.
I didn't even see Sarah.
Go
Hey,
Deets.
Thanks for doing this, Stephanie.
You're welcome, Miriam. Have a great evening.
Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Gotta go
We're
on. I'm
wrap-
gonna save it.
we're
So
wrapping up.
see you later, Bill.
Now, Nell never spoke. Tell me who Nell is. Do you know who Nell is?
I really don't. I don't. I can go back and look on the email my Eventbrite.
When I was at the special children's school, I worked with a Nell, and I thought she was in the Sandhills Child Development Program, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I can't out her. She won't come on, so I tried. Good night to y'all.
Good night. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Stephanie.
And we'll keep that up so I can copy everything. Y'all have any questions?
How do you know that whether or not you have a tailored plan?
Well, if you are on the wait list, I think Nell walked away, so that's what it is. So if you're on the wait list, you should have gotten a tailored plan letter. Some people did and some people didn't. So what I've got a phone number for y'all to call, and actually I've got my daughter's letter right here. I can tell you. So this is the letter you got. And let me tell you, it's a beautiful read. So the number you'll want to call, everybody in here is Sandhills. I mean, Guilford, right? Okay. So the number you're going to call is 1-800-256 2452. Sorry.
Is that the same for
somebody
Davidson?
there. It's Sandhills. So yeah, you're Sandhills. Yeah.
Now, is that also about the letter? Because we
Yes,
didn't
this
get
is
the letter.
This is the letter. So call Sandhills, tell them that you're on the wait list and you didn't receive the letter. Now, there's another number on here for DHHS, and there's a website you can go to. I'll pass this around so you can see it. It's ncmedicaidplans.gov. I'll just pass it around so y'all can see.
What, DH, what?
DHA, Department of Health and Human Services.
We don't get much. We won't get Medicaid. I mean, so I don't need to write this down, I just do. So we're on the list, but we don't qualify. So I
What do you
don't know
mean
how-
you don't qualify?
For Medicaid. We've
Well-
been denied that from them and SSI for my son.
How
But we've
old is
been
he?
on those, he's 8.
Oh, yeah, you won't until he turns 18.
Okay, that's right.
Yes,
Okay, that's right.
but if he's on the list and he gets a waiver,
Mhm.
they waive your income. It's based on his needs.
His needs, okay.
So that's why they call it a waiver.
I guess
Yeah.
he's been on it since he's 5 or 5. Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, you will be denied middle class families all the time. So you are denied until he turns 18. And once he turns
Okay.
18, he's his own person. Then you can go through the process of applying for SSI. Social Security income, and then that Medicaid comes automatically.
Automatic. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I was.
but-
All this confused.
Yeah.
We got the tailored plan letter, with Logan.
Yeah.
He's not on any list yet.
Doesn't matter.
That's why I'm
Because
confused, because some people are like, they're
Yeah.
on the list, we got the letter, but he's on the
So-
list and we got the letter.
still, he probably got it because of he was in the system somewhere. Has he ever had Medicaid before?
Yes.
Yes. So that's probably why he got it. Right now, we're still in the emergency COVID thing. And so anybody who ever had Medicaid got it again. So that's why he's probably getting the letter. And because of his diagnosis somewhere along the line, you want it. I
So we have to
promise you.
choose, we need to choose one.
Yes.
Okay, because they sent a letter to us, I want to say it was like last year. and
But
he
have
told us
you
to
already
hold off on it.
Yeah, have you already, I remember y'all with Cardinal and the whole thing where.
We tried to go through the cardinal organization
Yeah.
and they
Right,
denied
denied.
us because we had the school exit
Exit,
IEP
right.
and then the
Yeah.
and then they wanted another.
And now you're getting the
And so
cycle
that's, we got that done.
Yeah.
And
Good.
so that's where we went through
Perfect.
Agape, if I
Agape.
pronounced that right. or
Agape, yeah.
whatever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you're you've applied, but you're just going to give them your psych eval now?
No, we've
I've
not.
got to send
That,
Betty all the forms that she emailed us along with the
Yes.
psycho eval.
Okay, perfect.
Then we'll get on
Yeah.
the list, I'm
And
assuming.
we're supposed to get it in 2 weeks there.
Good. So in your tailored plan letter, like Tawana said, go on ahead now and sign up for the, and I guess I should stop this because I'm recording it. Hang on. So, because this is personal information. So let me go stop recording.